You guys asked for it, so here it is. In my last video, I did my best to find out how many moons a human could get in Mario Odyssey while each kingdom was in its base state. In today's video, we're going to be continuing on by checking out each kingdom in their final states, as well as fixing a few mistakes from moons that I missed last time. To make things more interesting in the post-game, I decided that if I'm stuck at the start of a kingdom, I'll be allowing myself to use a checkpoint to get to the best possible starting area, so that we aren't stuck with any situations like Cascade or Cloud where I couldn't even reach anything. Additionally, I'll be exploring areas like Deep Woods and Shiveria that would have technically killed me to enter before, since it'd still be fun to see what's in them. The rules are pretty similar to last time, with just a few changes due to feedback. First, I can't use Cappy for captures. Second, I'm allowed to interact with things like switches and doors, as well as pipes now. I ruled them out before, but I don't think that was fair to do since I could probably use them as a person. Third, as I said, I'll be allowing myself to start at a checkpoint of my choice in kingdoms that are otherwise inaccessible from the beginning. And finally, for the sake of the challenge, I'm considering Mario's height as 3 feet and 1 inch. I explained why in the last video, but the implications of 9-foot new donkers is just too concerning for me to accept. Without further ado, let's go! Since Cap Kingdom has no moons to begin with, we've got nothing but progress to make. Breaking the moon rock, let's go ahead and see just how much there is to look at. Right off the bat, we've got a rabbit friend right by us, so I managed to chase him down with relative ease, netting us our first moon. After that though, we've got the whole kingdom to explore. As you'll see, my initial plan for looking around was like this, but it very quickly turned into this with how much there was to try. Walking toward the main gates, I climbed up on top of the entry sign to give the yellow hat a spin, giving us our next moon. Continuing forward, we got our shot moon, which is pretty standard, and then I saw... yeah, this guy. I didn't really think about how annoying the hint art would be for this challenge, but we'll still do our best to get as many of them as possible. That being said, I'll save it for last. Making my way forward, I said hello to the best Mario character, Peach, who, if you couldn't tell, is my favorite one. And so far, this is feeling suspiciously easy, although the post-game moons do tend to be a little too obvious at times. Next up is this ground pound below us, so I carefully made my way down each ledge before digging in and securing it. Then on the way back up, I saw a pipe and took it to our first sub-area. Although Mario's rolling here on camera, we're just going to imagine that I'm very cautiously crawling my way along. I was able to get the first moon, we'll just say I crawled my way back, and then continued my way down. Unfortunately though, the end would greet us with immediate death. That fall is way too long for me to survive, so the end moon is out of the question. With that route blocked off and the starting platform way too steep to climb back up to, I could technically get the first moon, but there'd be no way to escape alive with it, so we're not going to count it. Going back to town, I kept walking around till I saw this guy. Now, I know the intended solution is to bring a Paragoomba, but technically, it's fully within my human ability to get rid of him on my own, so I'm sorry, little guy. Walking toward Top Hat Tower, I saw a Scarecrow challenge and decided to give it a shot since it was solely based on running. Only using Mario's speed, which I'm confident I could match, I made it to the top and grabbed the moon right in the nick of time. And that was everything I was able to find. So I checked out the hint art and made my way to the moon. A pretty common sentiment in the comments of the last video was that I should be allowed to breathe on the moon since so many other creatures do in the game, and honestly fair enough. We'll just assume there's an oxygen layer here, allowing me to get this hidden moon behind the crowd. Also, after getting back, I realized I forgot one more moon, Cappy's hidden treasure. Following his orders for a bit, I stumbled onto it near the Odyssey, securing our actual final moon. In total, we ended up with 0 in the initial state and 9 in the final state, so not too bad. Let's pack up our stuff here and head to Cascade to finally do some exploring there. Double checking Cascade in its original state, I was confident that there really wasn't a way to get to the main area as is, so let's skip to the post-game version. With the bridge down, we are finally able to do some exploring here. But funny enough, in World Peace, there's actually so much to do in the first area that we won't be leaving for a while. The first moon I got was this immediately visible one, probably the laziest one in the game, sitting maybe 50 feet out in the open. After that, I chased down yet another bunny to get our second moon, then headed to the river to check out a few things I noticed there. I definitely completed the timer challenge on the first time, which was super possible for me to do since it was basically just walking and jumping. Then right after that, I checked out a cave I saw, which also contained a moon. Finally swimming out of the cave, I noticed a glowing spot under the water, and what do you know? After digging there, boom, another moon. Like I said in Cap, this is feeling suspiciously easy. The last moon to get in the starting area was from the shop, and after that I made my way into the main kingdom for the first time in 2 playthroughs. It is a bit nuts though that the first 6 moons were all in the direct vicinity of the starting point. Headed up the hill, I checked out one of the first sub-areas, and things seemed relatively optimistic. I skipped past this lever here that would have led to a moon since I didn't have anything heavy enough to throw that would have pulled it down, and just kept moving forward. Everything was all dandy until right at the end. Is every moon sub-area like this? Why do they all end with random falls? I was so close to a moon, but we left with nothing. Oh well. Heading all the way up to the next plateau, I noticed this moon hidden behind the rocks, and in all honesty, I really do think I could do one of 2 things. Either reach through and just grab the moon with my arm, or the rocks seemed loose enough that I could pull 1 or 2 out to make enough room for me to wiggle through. With how plausible it seems, I went ahead and counted it as one that I could get. I walked in the next moon sub area, then immediately turned around because I was not going to be able to do that, and checked out the 2D platforming area. Due to how simple most of the navigation was, I do think I could get the first moon. However, the other one just didn't seem very possible for me, so I left it there. After leaving, I continued on my way forward to see how high I could get in the kingdom. Sadly though, my luck had ran out for Cascade. While I could enter the pipe to the 2D area, I really don't think I'd be capable of shattering a brick block with just my bare hands, so we're stuck in the lower half of the kingdom. Finally, I tried out Koopa free running. I stuck to the pathway that I could realistically traverse, and despite putting in a good effort, I sadly came in second. There's a chance that someone could run this faster or climb the cliffside to get up here in half the time, but honestly, I'm going on my own human standards here. In the future, I may make a video discussing peak human abilities as well as utilizing gear like, scuba equipment or climbing rope, and I'd happily discuss that at a later point. The final thing that happened was I found a painting that took me to Bowser's Kingdom, so I guess we'll have to mark that one down to remember way down the road. All of that together, we started Cascade with 0 moons in its initial state, and we managed to collect 8 from the rest of the kingdom. For how rough things started out here, I'm happy to see the payoff that occurred without needing to utilize our emergency checkpoint. Let's head to Sand to find even more moons in the vast expanse. To start out Sand Kingdom, I collected the same 8 initial moons as before. However, we're not quite ready to move on to the post-game yet, since I had quite a few comments point out some more moons that I missed my first time around. To run through them pretty quickly, I got the Gambling Moon since, let's be real, no casino would prevent you from spending your money there. If not with Cappy, I could probably just throw any item realistically, so we got it. After that, I got the Poncho outfit using some purple coins I found scattered around the kingdom, and went ahead and did a little boogie. Earning myself a second moon. Then I headed to the desert to do Koopa trace walking. To the person who I told that Koopa wasn't out there yet, I'm sorry, I'm just blind and missed him in my first time around, so we got a passing score immediately. Next up, I headed to the Oasis to dig up the moon under the birds, then made my way to the Sphinx. After definitely answering every question correctly and not missing the first one twice, I got the second Sphinx moon and tried the tower one more time. I'd stopped at the pipe before, but now that I can use them, I went ahead and gave it a shot. Aside from this questionable parkour, again, I don't think I could smash through the bricks at the end, so this is where we're stopping. For the final moon here, I had to commit a crime. Could I throw a rock at a bird? Yeah. Would I feel good about it? No. No, I would not. But I do this for you guys, so it's your fault the bird just got smacked. All of that to say, we originally ended Sand with 8 moons, but now we are at 14. Thank you to everyone for the assistance, and I'll make sure to be a lot more thorough moving forward. Going into post-game Sand, I won't lie to you, this is going to take a minute, because there's a lot to do. Sticking with the usual, I hunted our new bunny friends first, and after an insanely tedious chase, finally managed to catch the one with the moon. After that, I went into town to talk to the Bonneton, finding his friend nearby and securing us the next one. I talked to the taxi driver, expecting something simple here, but it turns out you don't even get an initial moon, and instead they're headed straight to Metro, so we'll write that down to keep track of. The last thing in town that I set my eyes on was this guy, the Jaxie. I spent quite a bit of time debating what I wanted to do here, but I think it's fair to say that I should be able to ride it. Especially with being able to make it brake so much, I can just take things slow and steady. The Jaxie opens up a lot for us, so I started by letting it see its friend, then took it across the poison swamp to reach an otherwise inaccessible moon. I did try to head down into the ruins, but unfortunately we are immediately met with a deadly fall, so we're not even going to consider the room an option. Continuing forward, I committed vehicular cactus slaughter, netting us a 5th moon. So this guy is awesome and has already paid off a ton. Also, his help doesn't even stop there. I made my way west to the Racing Koopas and decided to give the race a shot since I'm allowed to use the Jaxie. However, on my first attempt, I realized it would really frickin' hurt to drop down from this building. I looked at all the sides first for an easier way down, and decided on this corner. With all the ledges jutting out, I could probably climb down pretty quickly. It took a few attempts with the added time for lowering myself, but I finally managed to make it and claimed my moon. That is where my luck ends though, as the margin was way too tight to reasonably win the second Koopa race, where they're a lot faster. Heading downwards, I tried out a small invisible section, and despite a couple minor injuries, aka immediate death, I got this one down and claimed another moon. From here, I pulled up a list just to make sure I got everything I could. In town, I missed 2 easy ones. First, the moon hidden at the top of the fountain, which I don't know, I got by, rubbing it? And the next one came from the dog, who thankfully dug it up for us pretty fast. From there, I went east and found the painting, which actually takes us to Metro. I'll go ahead and again write that note down, so I don't forget about it. Heading back, I got the second Koopa Trace Walking Moon, definitely on my first try. Then went to town one final time to reach a Jaxie Moon in the Southwest Desert. I was unfortunately reminded of the hint art on the way there, but that's the last problem we'll face. The Jaxie took a little bit of coaxing to not kill me, but we got the moon and headed to Bowser's Kingdom to round stuff out. A little note I'll say here, when it comes to Bowser's Kingdom, I will be allowing myself to use checkpoints for each island, just because I think it'd be a shame to discount all of the areas due to the unique layout. After a few missed ground pounds, we got it, then headed to Sand to tally our scores. In total, we got 14 moons in the initial state, and 12 in the final state, giving us an overall 26 total. That is honestly crazy. I'm getting pretty sick of sand though, and I'm sure you are too, so let's change things up and head to Lake Kingdom. For Lake Kingdom, as expected, there still really isn't a good way to get to the rest of the kingdom, so after getting my first moon, let's go to the postgame. Immediately on arriving, I rejoiced at the sight of stairs and then got on my way. Rather than attacking a bunny first, let's go ahead and attack a bird instead. Again, I'm just considering this as throwing some rocks spread out on the beach, and after a few missed attempts, which seems pretty realistic for me, I finally took one down. After that, I headed into I hate you, the main area to look around the lake a bit. I tried out the timer challenge, but figured this would be way too deep for me to realistically free dive. What wasn't too deep for me though, was the moon on Dory's back, so I got that instead. From there, I decided to look around for some easy to grab purple coins before headed to the town. I nabbed a few, and since I didn't see any easily accessible entrances, I opted to use my first checkpoint of the video. It seemed wrong to exclude access to the main civilization, so let's see what we can do in here. Sadly, I don't think I'll be diving down who knows how deep to Captain Toad, so I looked around, ultimately finding the secret rune containing a moon, and headed upstairs to buy one from the shop. Since I didn't have enough purple coins to buy the outfit though, I headed back out to look around. I figured that the upper areas would be a good place to start, but unfortunately I can't find a super justifiable means of getting up there. While I could definitely climb these poles, I doubt I could realistically pull myself up over these ledges to get fully on top. As much as that sucks, I want to stay true to the spirit of the challenge, so I moved on from here. I did find one more moon within a reasonable depth to grab, then looked around the main area finding one more I could likely get. Although these columns are close together, I do think I could find somewhere in there to squeeze through, or I could just stick my arm through and grab the moon. Either way, I'm counting it. With enough purple coins collected, I finally headed back, bought this extremely fashionable outfit, and made my way to the dress room. For whatever reason, we're gonna mess with this unfathomably expensive dress by ruffling the top until a moon comes out, securing our last one of the kingdom. All that's left is you. I took a quick trip to Cascade, bada bing, bada boom, and we're back. All in all, I started with 1 moon in the kingdom, and ended up with 8 more in the postgame, giving us 9 moons overall. That's a pretty awesome increase from where we began, but let's go ahead and move on to our next destination, Wooded. In Wooded, I got the 2 moons I originally had, the shop and the rabbit, before trying a few other commenter suggestions. First, I looked at the boulder that I'd debated on before, and after doing a little bit of research, decided it really wasn't feasible for me to lift and drop it. Sure, a strong man could get this broken, but the most I've ever deadlifted is 355, so this isn't leaving the ground. After that, I looked into one of the most controversial debates in the comments. A lot of people said I could probably climb higher here using the grates in Wooded, and while I could have climbed this little segment, that is honestly it. I still don't see myself getting past this upper area, so unfortunately progress is still stopped here. Finally though, someone pointed out that I could 1v1 this fire bro, so let's get into it. Not to overestimate my abilities, but with the minimal boxing skills I know, I do think I could take this guy on. That ends us with 3 moons before going into the postgame. To start things out, I decided to head up the nearby wall to investigate the notes mood. It was a close one, but I'm not willing to run any faster down this hill with the drop that we have to our left, so I doubt you'd be either. Headed into the actual kingdom since there wasn't much else out here, I found this fork looking for me to light his fire. While I can't use captures, I can still use my brain. Logically speaking, I could run to this fire bro with a stick, light one end, and then come back and light the fire, securing us the moon. From there, I headed upwards using this vine, which I do think I could climb, but if you're opposed to it, let's just say I use this checkpoint, and then I can continue to explore the kingdom. I went toward the back, and found 1 moon on a charging station, went ahead and collected that. Yeah, I know I can't dig through metal, but Mario is technically getting this just by hitting it really hard, so I can do that. I also tried this timer challenge, but even if I could get up in a time reasonably, that's just one big fall as soon as I get it. I tried out Koopa free running, but that was a mess. Between trying to safely climb down the vine and the unclimbable pathway ahead of us, that's just not happening. So what else is there? There was a new pipe nearby, so I went in and found the sheep challenge. Sure, I can't smack them with hats to make them fly, but I could definitely lift a sheep over a ledge, so there's decent progress to be made here. Sadly though, that all goes to waste, since the end segment is way too far for me to get this thing across. This just kinda sucks right now. Continuing forward, I climbed this pole, which I do think I could do as scary as it would be, then made my way over to this insanely steep incline. Let's be real, that is way too steep to climb. Just for how many people wanted to see Wooded though, let's say the checkpoint up here is actually the one I used, and I was all good to climb that vine before. Our luck still really isn't better. I can do the simple jumps to get up to this ledge for Peach, but that's not as good as you think it is. Sure, I talked to her and got the moon, but now I'm stuck. If I was on the ledge below, I could have slid down the steep incline, but there's no way off of here since these are all just sheer ledges. Wooded was not meant for humans. Last but not least, you. I don't even want to talk about it, let's just get it. With the normal side of Wooded fully complete, I did want to give a spotlight to its spookier half, Deepwoods. Sure, we don't have access to the T-Rex capture, but there's still plenty more to do. Before checking it out in its initial state though, let's take a pit stop at the shop and buy ourselves a new outfit. Headed down into Deepwoods, we gracefully and very safely made our way to the ground before beginning our exploration. Full confession, this area does genuinely scare me, and I decided to stop filming the night before at 1 AM so I could play it the following morning. The first moon I got was at Pick a Pipe, and although I'm unsure if I have Mario's intuition to just look at the right one, I could get it with enough trial and error. After that, I found my way to the river and talked to the robot out front in my new outfit. This got us our second moon pretty fast. Then I headed down the river and got this scarecrow challenge that would give me a ton of trouble. Usually long jumps are pretty important here to get this one, but I was just sticking to Mario's running speed. After a few infuriatingly close attempts and a couple close calls with the T-Rex, I finally got it just in the nick of time. Last but not least, I found this pipe in the big tree, hit the wrong chest, ran from the mummies, free went into the pipe in the big tree, and opened the chest in the correct order to secure us a moon. Not too shabby. Also funny enough, I did go back to check and Deepwoods doesn't actually get anything new in the post game, so we're good. All in all, we got 3 moons in Wooded's initial state and 4 in Deepwood's initial state, giving us 7 initial moons. With the extra 2 that we got in the post-game, Wooded has a final score of 9. That is way less than I was hoping for, but oh well. Let's move on to Cloud. Cloud starts the exact same with us being stranded at the start, but let's be real, even if I made it over, Bowser literally kills me, so let's skip to the post-game. Using our newfound ability to finally touch the main area of Cloud, this feels good. Starting things out, I went into the center pipe to try out the Goomba art. This is a little questionable, but bear with me. Although Mario does have to capture the items to use them, I assume I could just, pick them up and place them down? I feel like Mario is being a little too extra here. Anyways, I got both the easy and the hard one before moving on. Next up, I checked out the cube, but unfortunately due to some of these crazy drops, I don't see it as super possible for me to complete. Back on the main island, I followed the X's to the spot and... Really? Nintendo, I love you, but this was the best possible idea you could come up with? It's literally just out in the open. Whatever. Our final moon comes from my girl Peach, and with that, we are done in Cloud. The rest of the moons just rely on too much impossible parkour, or whatnot else, so we end with 0 moons in the initial state, and 4 in the post-game. Not too bad, but let's move to another kingdom that deserves a good chance again. Lost. For Lost, I had 2 small things to investigate in the initial state that I may have missed before. First, someone suggested that I look into the moon below the bridge, but unfortunately, it does seem way too far off for me to reach. Second, there is a moon hidden behind these slats. While Mario can't get through, I have to imagine that with enough finagling, I could get myself through at least one of the sections, so I'm gonna give myself a moon for its initial state. Going into the post-game, we've immediately got some stuff to try. First off, Koopa's right here, so let's see what his race looks like. Okay, yeah, we're not winning that. Moving forward, I tried out this new pipe, and... Okay, yeah, we're not making that jump. Moving forward again, we finally have an easy one with this guy hanging down like a banana. So let's grab it out of the tree and get to the main area. Just like last time, we are effectively stuck down here, but one key difference is at least with the hat, I could get this moon by using the torpedo, so that's 2. But now we're left with the decision. I could use my warp to get to the next platform above us, but in the spirit of using them correctly, I feel like going to the top of the kingdom would make the most sense. That way, we're going where the only sentient beings actually are. On top of the world, we bought our shot moon, talked to the princess, and very carefully climbed this tree to grab a final 5th moon. Walking around the edges, I hope you'd agree with me that there's nowhere reasonably safe to get down. The seemingly stone walls are completely flat and offer nowhere for footholds or grip, so we are already done and lost. 1 moon in the initial state, 5 in the post-game, that means we've got 6 here total. With Lost out of the way, we can finally head to where I know you've all been waiting for. We're finally here, the kingdom that sparked this video's existence to begin with. Let's go ahead and get ourselves into post-game Metro. I know the perfect checkpoint for us to start at. Okay, just kidding, this is a bit better. To discuss something first, Metro has a bit of a unique rule set that I've made based on some comments. If a building has an open door that I can enter, then I'll assume that I could take some stairs or an elevator up to a door above, such as with City Hall. However, buildings like this one without any roof access would only be accessible if I could somehow scale the walls. How did this guy get up here then? I have literally no idea, but I'm just saying the odds of him being Spider-Man seem pretty high to me. Starting out pre-festival, I'm able to get 2 moons with relative ease. One from the musician playing right outside City Hall, and another from the musician in the public square. The 3rd moon is really, really questionable. Could a person shimmy their way across the wire? Yes. Is their chance of falling off pretty high? Also yes. I'm going to include this one as possible, but if you want to remove it from the list, that is completely valid. The final musician is way up on the rooftops, and I double checked. There's really no good way for me to climb up here, so I'll go ahead and finish the festival without counting any of those, then we'll approach the kingdom with world peace. Starting out from the checkpoint in Town Square, we have so much to do I don't even know where to begin. After looking around for a second, I figured we should just rip the band-aid off though, and go to jump rope. Humans can jump rope, So yes, this isn't really an issue to get the first one. Our trouble mainly starts from the second one where you need 100 jumps. I'm just gonna be completely honest, this video is long. I've been playing this game for way too long. It's 11:15 p.m. and I want to go to bed. As hard as it would be, this is possible for a human, so I'm marking the moon down, but I'm not staying here any longer. From there, I went to talk to Toad, but realizing I hadn't unlocked the right music yet, I pivoted toward the race cars. Yeah, I can't possess this dude, and I really don't want to possess him, but I could just grab the remote out of his hand and do it myself. So we secured our second moon, and also got 2 more inside for the complex racing. Headed back to Toad, I put on the right music and let the little man vibe as I got my moon from him. Right behind him was a big cluster of seeds, so I also decided to start on those. One of the planters is in the immediate vicinity, so I used that. Then I decided to tackle the Mario sign. I'll be the first to say I really don't know how much these letters would weigh, but I think with enough time I could probably shimmy them to the right location, netting us a moon. Unless anyone has any other conflicting insider information from Miyamoto himself, I think we're good. I headed back toward town again and this time tried my luck at some roof climbing. Thankfully, this building had a fire escape, and assuming I could utilize the lower railing on the left, I don't think I'd have too much trouble pulling myself up. Once on top, I saw a pot, so I ran back down, threw the seat up to the balcony, and got that bad boy planted. A little further on this roofing section, I did also find a moon buried underneath some trash, so ultimately it was a great decision to come up here. Back down on the city streets, I tried out this timer challenge, but there's no way I could run fast enough, especially on the swinging beam, to get the moon in time. Just no. Not doing that. So we opted for the much safer and pleasant experience of just walking into the shop and buying one. That was a nice break. After leaving the shop, I was also super happy because I was about to get my favorite moon, Bench Friends. Ever since finding it in my first playthrough, it's just held a special place in my heart. I took a second to chill, then I went to this building to complete a Notes Moon. It was super easy, definitely possible for me, so I just kept going forward through the kingdom. I made my way back to this very scary wire, did the shimmy across, and got quite a few things in the park. Between hitting a piece of the Mecha Wiggler, attacking yet another bird, and following around this dog, we got 3 moons from the tiny park. Shimmying back across, I went to pay a visit to one of our favorite friends, Captain Toad. This terrifying beam is traversable, sure, but I would be peeing my pants the whole time. Either way, I made it there and back safely, then headed to the town hall for another terrifying moon. Again, this is a case of possible, but I'm peeing my pants. Done with that, I brought myself back down to earth and really changed pace by doing a dating simulator? This moon with Pauline is so out of left field it always catches me off. But even after answering all her questions correctly, I didn't even get a moon. She needs the purse on a nearby rooftop as a gift, and I can't get up there. So this was just a waste of my time. Headed to the left side of the city, I attempted the T-Rex room, but even if I could avoid the deadly chomps, I'm not surviving that endfall. I tried the 2D room, and although I could get the secret moon initially, the end had a jump that was too far from me, and there's no way to back out from the start, so nothing here either. Finally though, after so much failure, my saving grace. The old reliable, gambling. I headed into the casino and won big my first try. What a good lesson, right? Wrong. Gambling is clown activity. I don't know guys, I'm running out of verbal transition ideas. I talked to the depressed new donker and got a moon, then put on my building outfit only to find this room was entirely undoable, so that was a bit annoying. After this, I'd really explored all the major areas, so it was just time for cleanup and to see what I missed. First, I entered the crowded sub-area and found one of the hidden Bonnetons sitting around. After that, I pulled the lever to rush my way through the oncoming people. Mario's polite and he doesn't shove, but I'm not Mario. Just imagine these jumps as me pushing people down as I sprint my way through this river and get my moon. Back at the start of the kingdom, I have found a moped that I extremely cautiously took up a staircase to find this guy's stupid parking meter. I know mopeds can't jump, so you just gotta imagine me lifting up all these steps. Back at the start again, I found another hidden hat and got that moon, talked to the taxi driver that I'd accidentally overlooked, and finally harvested my 2 seeds that had been growing for way too long because oh my gosh, this kingdom is huge and I've been there for hours. We're done, right? Nope. For those of you screaming at your screens and commenting, I didn't forget the moon by the Odyssey, and yes, I actually remembered to include the moon we collected through the sand painting. Getting all of these added together, we got 0 moons in Metro's initial state, and a whopping 30 moons in the final state. That's our biggest turnaround yet. As much as I'd love to stick around here and celebrate, I'm sick of Metro, and you probably are too, so let's head to a completely different view. Snow Kingdom starts with the same miserable cold and 50-foot drop, so that's just not happening. Let's go ahead and address it in post-game though. The first thing I did was warp us down to the mainland so that we could actually walk around a little. I wasn't sure how much of the kingdom we'd have access to, since I considered touching the water as a great way to onset hypothermia and die, but there's still quite a bit here. I first jumped down the pipe, not expecting much to happen, but this first sub-area is actually super possible. The entirety of the challenge solely relies on just following the flower road, and with a small few jumps here and there, we can do it. The final segment is definitely a bit more scary and debatable, but I consider this moon achieved. Next up, I continued looking around and began collecting moon shards. This parkour tripped me up a few times, but assuming I moved fast enough, the water shouldn't be an issue. The next 2 sub-areas were both duds, as they immediately required me to swim in freezing water, but while looking around, I did at least find a way to the outer edge of the kingdom. So, without this little bridge, we would have done a lot worse. The first thing I found on the outer edge was another hypothermia-inducing room, and after that was Koopa. Starting the race though, it was evident this wasn't happening. Harsh storm conditions, no way to scale the giant ice walls, I just decided to quit out. Koopa may not be our friend, but at least we've got another one nearby. Captain Toad, my king. We talked to the big man, got my moon, and soon after found Koopa, but better. Yeah, this would suck on ice, but I got the first one, which in my opinion I really shouldn't have, and soon after claimed the second. This timer challenge initially seemed possible, but due to how low we'd have to drop to get the first platform, I did decide against it. At least there was a moon right up here though to ease the pain, and immediately after we got our 4th moon shard and caught a bunny. Sadly though, that's where things stop, as we can't get the final moon shard since it's underwater, but I'll still happily take the 6th that we got. As mentioned a while back, I'll also be taking a look at Shiveria pre- and post-game. Within the initial Shiveria, I was able to get the moon on the cardboard boxes without too much trouble, but that's where my easy streak stopped. In the first chamber, I made it through the entire room except for the very end, and unfortunately, due to the way the ice drops down to reveal the moon, there's no way for me to safely lower myself down. In the next room, I do think I could feasibly get to the final moon, but it would be insanely difficult. Between getting my ankles crushed and the heights I'm dealing with, it would be scary to say the least. Had I jumped after this guy went down though, I think it would have been okay. So I'll hesitantly add it to the 2 so far. After that though, our luck has run out. The third room is insanely dangerous to begin with, and even after managing to clear the spinies, we get stuck pretty soon after. Without capturing the Typhoon, we're just stuck, so oh well. In the final room, I questioned if I could even get blown up by these wind tunnels, but even if I'd made it past the first segment, I can't go any farther. Contrary to popular belief, spinning yourself in a circle really fast does not lead to takeoff. So without being able to complete all 4 rooms, we can't enter the racing area and are just stuck in Shiveria, which does at least have one more thing for us to do, the Shop Moon. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get enough purple coins yet, so I can't buy the snow clothes to access the upstairs, but we should be okay once we're in the post-game to explore up there. That's still 4 moons though, which isn't too bad. And what do you know, we are all good to go for post-game. Unlike Deepwoods though, there is a little bit more to do here. First though, I am sad to say that without access to the water and a lot of the sub-areas, I wasn't able to find enough purple coins for the snow outfit, so that's not happening. What we do have at least is Peach, which is fantastic, and I can at least try for one of the new moons that seems kinda possible. I will say after looking at it though, I am leaning toward probably not. Between its height and the crazy speeds, I think most humans, myself included, would just end up in the poison trying to make a jump here. That leaves just this. So, boom. We are ending snow with 0 in the mainland's initial state and 4 in the initial Shiveria, giving us 4 initial moons total. With the mainland 6 in the post-game and Shiveria's 2 extra, we end with an overall of 12 moons from Snow Kingdom. I know that number is still kinda low, but it's way more than I expected to see. let's get out of this cold and head somewhere a little bit warmer. Getting to Seaside Kingdom, I got the same 3 initial moons as last time, then headed toward Dory since a commenter reminded me that there's a moon underneath her. Believe it or not though, this sparked an insane domino effect. After finding Dory, I thought about the unique outfits sold in the shop, and remembered the moon room near volleyball. To buy the outfit, I started looking for purple coins, and while doing so located a seed on the surface. Planting that seed, I continued looking for coins, and while doing so came across a pipe that I could use now. This led me to yet another moon. So after all of that, I bought my outfit, got the special moon in the room, and harvested my seed. In short, thanks username pending, your comment led me not only to the 4th moon, but 3 more after that. That means that there's technically 7 moons that a human could get in Seaside before the post-game. Now that we've got that taken care of though, let's go forward and break the moon rock. Post-game Seaside doesn't look too different aside from a few extra accessible moons on the beach. I went for the dog first, and I cannot emphasize enough how stupidly long this took. I really didn't remember the dogs being this annoying, but oh my gosh, when you've been playing for hours, this just drains you. After getting it, I set my eyes on you. To clarify, a ton of people asked why I didn't do volleyball before, but it isn't available until after the boss is defeated. So let's give this a shot. To summarize, both moons are definitely possible. I got the first one with almost no trouble, and failed to get the second, but you get the idea. It'd probably take a ton of attempts, but the area is small enough that I think most people could do it with enough time put in. After that, I got one more moon via the hint art, and called it good. Since almost every other new moon was deep underwater or a capture-based sub-area, this was genuinely it. 7 moons in the initial state, 4 in the final state, giving Seaside a total of 11 moons. Time to head to my least favorite kingdom. Don't hate me, the colors just drive me insane. As with last time, we're also trapped right at the start of Luncheon with 0 moons gained, so let's cut to the post-game. Exploring around the Odyssey one last time, there still wasn't anything to do here. If there was some wood or sticks nearby, I could hypothetically make a torch to light these for a moon, but since there aren't, let's head to town. Right away, we got back into our rabbit chasing habits, and after a bit of trouble, managed to nail this guy down. Then I actually got to looking around. I talked to Peach real fast to get a moon, then found this potentially reachable crate with another inside. Sadly though, upon breaking it, the moon just flew on top of a roof, and I really didn't see a good way to climb the building to get it, so we'll painfully have to leave it. Next, I plucked some turnips, or onions, or something, I don't remember what these are, and threw one in the stew to get a moon. But we finally have what I've been craving since Metro. Gambling. And I didn't win big. Guys, gambling didn't pay off. Except it did the next time, so do with that what you will. I did eventually manage to gather enough purple coins for the chef's outfit, but upon entering the secret room, I was met with a horrible sight. A sub-area that required captures. So I turned around, double-checked I couldn't progress any further into the level, and made my way back toward the Odyssey. On the way back, I ran into my main man Toad, got that guy some music going, and headed over to this timer challenge. Would this be horrifying to do over lava in real life? Yeah, it would, but just like some of the Metro challenges, we gritted our teeth, got it done, and left with both our moon and our life. The last moons I managed to get were in this sub-area where we have to jump across rising and lowering platforms. Again, it's horrifying, but possible. We'll pretend like I did this flawlessly and didn't burn my foot off, because I can definitely make that jump and I can definitely kick a plant. The rest of Luncheon just wasn't very accessible. Even the roofs had a lot of areas with gaps that were too wide for me to jump, so we'll call it there. All in all, 0 moons in the initial state and 8 in the final, giving us an overall total of 8 to leave with. Time to head to my favorite kingdom. Ruined was one of the funny little kingdoms that actually managed to get us a moon last time, so I collected that and then went ahead to the post-game. Starting on the main island, the only new thing here aside from the capture-based sub-area was the moon on top of a pillar. As difficult as it would be to climb, I do think I could get up there with how many grooves there are, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that we claimed this one. Teleporting our way to the dragon next, we've got 2 more quick things to do. First off, talking to Peach as normal gets us our moon, and second, heading up to the dragon. On the tip of the horn, we can give it a little rub, I don't know, and boom, third moon pops out. Short and sweet, but coming in with 1 initial moon and 3 post-game, Ruin gave us a total of 4. Next up, we're going to Bowser's, and we are real close to the end now. Despite the beginning being so simple, Bowser's Kingdom did have 1 moon I missed on the initial playthrough. Right behind the Odyssey, we can give this Bowser head some head pats and get a moon. That's it though, so let's go ahead and get to the post-game. As I mentioned way back when we first came here for the hint art, I will be allowing 1 checkpoint for each island. Otherwise, I'd just have to pick a single one and still miss the majority of the kingdom, which would be pretty lame. Starting on Island 1, we can't go through the door anymore. What? Toad, I don't want to use the stupid pipe, I want this door. Okay, whatever, Island 2 it is. Starting out, I figured I could probably push these boxes to help boost myself up a bit, but even after that, this wall is way too tall. Fantastic start to both of these islands. On Island 3 though, we actually have something to do right in front of us. By grabbing this guy up here, we can easily activate and complete this Notes Moon. So nice. Also nice, this is the first island where we can gain roof access. I wasn't able to do too much up here, but it was still a good feeling to grab some purple coins and explore around some. Going to Island 4, I looked around a bit in the initial area before realizing that we can't progress again. I really try to evaluate how climbable the walls seem, and these just look completely flat. So, Island 5. And clearly, there's a lot more going on here at least. I started to run into the shop, but seeing my girl, I turned around and got us our second moon, then got inside and bought the store's moon. I was waiting to buy the samurai outfit since we didn't have enough purple coins yet, but I assumed as we went further we'd probably get them and could come back. Finally, I considered doing the Jizo moon by shoving it over there, but based on the impact it makes when Mario moves it around, the statue just seems like too big of a task for me to move alone. And finally, we are on to Island 6. There is a Notes Moon here as well, but without Cappy, I just can't seem to get it. I tried a ton of this, and every single time, I was just too far from getting them all to consider it possible for me. From there, I explored more roofs, found more purple coins, and eventually attempted to go for this moon below the water. For a free diver, this wouldn't be too bad, but it's pretty debatable for me. I'm gonna leave it as possible, but you wouldn't catch me trying to recreate this in real life. And that is it. Just for the sake of full exploration, I am going to use a checkpoint that takes us to the very top, even though it's technically the same island. But if you're starting to get upset about that in the comments, don't be. There are no other moons up here. Also, I could technically just take the pipe by the Odyssey anyways, hi Toad, to get up here. Before leaving, I'd gotten enough purple coins to buy the samurai outfit and tried out the area, but some of these jumps just seemed too high for me to do realistically in such a short span of time. Like sure, I could get myself up a 5-foot ledge, but not that quickly. Last but not least, we did get the painting moon here back in Cascade, so we'll add it to the list. So who would have thought? Bowser's Kingdom is not in fact human friendly. 0 moons from the get-go, and only 5 moons in the post-game. I thought with all the checkpoints this would have gone a lot better, but the insane inclines and reliance on the Pokios really screwed up my ability to get around. Let's head upwards now to start rounding out this grand adventure. After all of this time, we are finally back to the Moon Kingdom. In all seriousness though, like a lot of people pointed out, every creature up here is seen breathing on the moon, so it likely has some form of environment that I could breathe in as well. I'm not going to bother with the initial state since I'll just be stopped at Moon Cave, but let's take a look at what I could do in the postgame. The first thing I did was go say hi to my friends, then I found another dog to follow around. I would like to preface by saying of all of the stuff I've had to do in this challenge, this moment led to by far my largest crash out, for reasons you will very soon see. I'm putting the timer up in the corner, just so you can understand. After a few initial dog duds, I did end up finding this moon in a crater out back, so I got that, then just kept looking around. After what felt like forever, I gave in and finally Googled the moon location. Apparently though, it's not even up here, it's down below us on a different shelf. So I went down there and kept looking and couldn't find it, so I got back on Google and found the exact location, and we finally got the stupid moon. Literally, why are these dog ones so hard to find? After that relief, I cannot stress this enough, I then came across the actual most infuriating moment of this challenge. Now, the initial Koopa Moon I got was relatively easy, right? No struggle. The second one? Don't ask me why, but I just couldn't get it. I literally got 89 twice and 88 once, but I just kept messing up over and over and over and over and over again. Until finally, after forever, I got the stupid second moon. Moving forward, excited to see what else was in store for us, I saw this. This gap is too far to jump. So I went back, bought the Storm Moon, and was genuinely ready to quit Moon Kingdom and just move on. After some time to relax though, and coming back to the game a little bit later, I realized that really wouldn't be fair. I've used warps for all the major ones that had giant areas blocked off, so I shouldn't let frustration dictate my choice here. Let's see what else the Moon Kingdom has to offer. I figured starting myself in the center would be the fairest placement, especially since it's not like the cathedral would have much more that's actually accessible to me. I started by heading toward Moon Cave, hoping to talk to the Sphinx, but there was another large gap in my way, so let's turn around and keep this good attitude, right? Headed up, I tried this timer challenge, but yeah, I'm not getting that. Finally though, we got something actually possible. I have been checking every rock that I've seen, and we finally got the one with the moon in it. I know that I said I couldn't break the one in Wooded, but with the low gravity, I think I really could lift this one up. So, that is another moon for us at least. After that, I considered whether or not I could climb up this small ledge, but with the low gravity and the more grippy moon rock, I think I could pull myself up here. I'm not climbing that giant ledge by any means, but this seems a lot more possible. I caught the bunny, got my moon, and then actually called it good here. 0 moons in the initial state, 7 moons in the final state, for a grand total of 7 moons in Moon Kingdom. Let's round out the video by going to the last place. In Mushroom Kingdom, there really isn't an initial or in-game state since it's just the Mushroom Kingdom, you know? So what are we doing here? First off, we're going to get the 10 moons that I got last time, then we're going to fix my mistakes by hitting some missed moons, and then talking to her. The first guy I missed comes from this tree, and now that we have the ability to use Cappy, it should be pretty simple to get. Next, I collected a few more purple coins, and bought myself the Mario 64 outfit. Looking drippy. On the way there, I found this toad who's scared of Goombas, and like earlier, I can't become a Goomba, but I could punt a toad. So, moon acquired. From there, we discovered that L is in fact real, collected the moons from the chest, and then got this Notes moon by running in a circle, and then running in another circle. Lastly, we used the hint art in Peach's castle to find this guy, and boom! 6 new moons added to our original 10. And we're about to add a whole lot more. For the Toadette moons, I'm not going off whether or not I actually earned them in the game, but rather if I should have or could earn them as a person. For example, we were given 44, which details rescuing Peach, even though I as a human couldn't do that. Meanwhile, I could do 46 because we acquired well over 100 moons in this run. To go through these pretty quickly, feel free to pause and read the descriptions if you want to, we could get 46 Power Moon Knight, 49 Regional Coin Shopper, 54 Note Collecting World Tour, 60 Touring with Princess Peach, 65 Flower Growing Guru, 67 Running with Rabbits, 69 Ground Pound Instructor, 71 Rad Hatter, 74 Wearing It Well, 79 Art Enthusiast, 81 Slots Machine, 84 Supernaturally Sure-Footed, 100 Loaded with Coins, 103 Jump Jump Jump, and 104 Fly Cappy Fly. Altogether, that's 15 more moons ending Mushroom with a grand total of 31, which is insanely impressive. Before we tally our final scores, we've got one more small thing to deal with. The taxi. I didn't forget about it, I've just been putting it off. In quick succession, we've got one more moon in Cascade, Luncheon, Moon, Mushroom, and Sand Kingdom. Meaning our totals shift a little to give our final leaderboard scores here. Our top 3 kingdoms are Mushroom, Metro, and Sand, with 32, 30, and 27 moons respectively. In total, we collected 184 moons this video, which is insane honestly for a human to do. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this adventure, and if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like or subscribe as that would mean the world to me. I love making fun ideas like this into videos, but oh my gosh, it took a very long time to do. This is the longest video on my channel by almost double the length of anything else, so it helps a lot to see that effort get recognized.